Hey everyone, welcome to a new episode of the program with Woj, presented by In the Arena Studios and our title sponsor, Novig. We've got one of the hottest young coaches in all of college football, Tulane's Jon Sumrall, with us this week. Coach has built a power in the American Athletic Conference at Tulane in his return there. Now as head coach after two dominant seasons as the head coach of Troy in the Sun Belt. What Jon has been able to do is build something of a model college football program outside of the Power Four, maximizing the resources he has there, and some real interesting roster building strategies that he's employed that I think are something that a lot of schools and a lot of programs will want to emulate. As a reminder, you can catch the program with Woj on X, on YouTube, on your favorite podcast platforms. Now let's get to Coach Jon Sumrall of Tulane football. This episode of the program is presented by Novig, the peer-to-peer sports prediction market with no house, no hidden fees, and the best odds in the game. Whether you're a casual fan or a sharp trader, Novig lets you play smarter, win bigger, and make sports picks in a whole new way. And it's available in over 35 states. Learn more at novig.us/Woj and use code the program for a match up to $100 on your first purchase. Welcome in here to Tulane's football coach, Jon Sumrall. Coach, how are you doing today?
I've been better. I've been worse too. Obviously, outcome of our last ball game was not desirable, but man, we got a pulse, so we got a chance, and we're going to keep fighting. But appreciate you having me on.
Well, it's great to have you, and you're somebody who, I think for a lot of programs, Coach, outside of the power conferences, what you did at Troy in your seasons there, and now what you built and are building at Tulane. Let me start here, Coach. Trying to figure out what the formula is for roster building. You're going to exhaust every avenue in recruiting, whether it's high school, JC, portal, international. You found that to be different, let's say, at Tulane than Troy, about how you go about assembling a roster and where you're going to prioritize out there in the marketplace.
Yeah, I think at this level, the challenge is you have limited resources, maybe from a rev share or NIL component. We're not at the full cap. We're not even close to the full cap. And like the full cap's in a different hemisphere than us. And so I think as you put things together for us, we still start with the grassroots of high school recruiting to roster build. Football, obviously different than basketball. The roster size is so great. We've got 116 guys on our roster right now. And so I can't go out and build a team just through the portal because those guys usually cost dollars that I don't have. And so for us, we really start with the foundational level of how we build our roster is through the conventional high school recruiting model of recruit and develop the high school player. And then what we have to do though through that is it's the inevitable of we recruit or develop a high school player a la Darian Mensah, who was our quarterback a year ago here at Tulane. And he has a pretty good year as a redshirt freshman quarterback. And we can't keep him because the money. And so Duke pays him a number that we don't have to pay, maybe our entire team, much less one player. And so you therefore have to grasp, well, you don't replace a frontline starter that's a veteran with a high school player because that guy's preparation is not what you're missing on your roster now. You need a guy that can step into that void. And so it's always a moving target. The biggest challenge is you try to have a pulse of who you're going to lose in the portal. And there's some surprises that you don't think are going to happen. There's some guys you keep that you don't know if you're going to keep either. So you're constantly having to kind of keep a pulse of like, what does this look like? Who's staying, who's going, and what can we get with the resources we have?
Yeah, and you mentioned that high school player. You bring a player in, and I think early in your coaching career, I'm sure, Jon, whether you were at Tulane, Kentucky, you were out west, there was so much value in identifying a player that maybe other people hadn't identified, then bringing them in, developing them. And that's in pro sports, right? If it's baseball, if it's the Tampa Rays, that's how they're able to compete with the Yankees in payroll, because then you have control. For lack of a better term, you have control of that player in the pro ranks for a number of years. The hard part at our level is we're in perpetual free agency. So you do all that work. And then you're asking yourself after a year where somebody else, even in year two, is going to get so much more because you've coached him, he's come through in your system, and you're just preparing him. Now, if you can get 2 years out of that player, 2 productive years, sometimes you feel differently about it, but that's got to be the hardest thing, right? Because it goes against all the instincts of what you did as a younger coach and coming up. That now you're just not rewarded for it.
Yeah, you're not. And there's two things at play, I think. One is the roster building side, like making sure you have enough quality players to go win the game competitively from a competition standpoint. Like the threshold of, is our team good enough? Are we equipped to go compete at this level? And the challenge is at this level is we have 5 returning starters back in our entire team out of 22 on the offensive and defensive sides of the football from last year. We have a left tackle, a left guard, 1 D lineman, 1 linebacker, and 1 safety. And everybody else is a brand new starter. And so you got 17 guys that are starting games that did not start games here a year ago. Many of them weren't on this roster a year ago. But you're having to figure out, how do we field a roster that's quality enough to go win and compete? At the same time, there's the culture building side, the team building side of like, hey, the cohesion and the synergy and the standards of the program, the norms, they still matter. And so while your roster is flipped every year, 50% of our roster is new every year now. That's just the world we live in. So with 50% turnover, how do you get buy-in and get guys to understand, hey, this is how we do things? Because it's not just about what you do, it's also about how you do it. And if everybody's not on the same page and doesn't understand the battle rhythms of like, this is how we do things here, I think you can get really lost and lose what you're about within the walls of your building.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I've grappled with in this role as I'm learning it, coach, is, resource allocation, how much money you're going to spend, your top players versus spreading it around the roster. Developmental players, certainly, you're going to spend less on than somebody who's ready to help you win right now. But you've got to get those guys into the program, and that, like you said, you can't you can't have a new team every year. You got to have some. That's really hard to sustain for any of us. How much trial and error, and how much do you feel like you have a system in place, or you're building a system in place of putting financial values on whether it's position, experience, who are the guys you're going to spend your money on? And then the other question often is spending it to keep guys versus spending it to bring in somebody from the portal, and balancing that with each other.
Yeah, man, there's a lot to unpack there. So we have a salary cap model similar to the NFL, like by position. So we're going to have so much money in our quarterback room on a traditional year, so much in our O-line room, and so forth and so on. Now, that can change year to year. You may be able to live below your means on a certain position group one year, and there may be a year you have to go above your means to be maybe whole or right at a position group. But there is a finite amount of resourcing, and you can't pay maybe everybody top dollar. Even if you had top dollar, you couldn't. I think the two things I'll say, I believe in rewarding guys that were within our walls first, especially ones that are not just good players, but they're good people and they add value to everybody around the building. Because when you reward that, you encourage that behavior.
Right.
And so when when I ask our people in our equipment room or our training room or our academic center, hey, how is it like to deal with this guy? And they say, oh man, he's awesome to be around. He's always got gratitude and he's, kind. And I'm like, okay, and that guy's a starting player. Well, I want to pay him more if I can pay him more because he fits what we want to be about. If a guy's a jerk or he's not nice to, the equipment staff, the training staff, whoever, that automatically, I'm like, that guy's got less value, even if he's a good player. So you reward the whole person, not just the on the field player, I think, to reinforce what you want around your team. And then going back, for us, the high school player still at this level, a scholarship still means something, especially in a place like ours academically, where the scholarship for an undergraduate student athlete is about $98,000. That's a pretty strong financial opportunity before there's ever a conversation of rev share NIL. And I think when you're maybe at the P4, P2, SEC, Big Ten level, those high school players are getting paid handsomely out of high school. We're probably resourced more in the model of like, hey, our high school players, like, hey man, here's your scholarship package. And there might be a little something, but it's not really like all our freshmen are kind of on the same plane to some degree. And you come in and you start the same level, you earn more as you go. And then there's certain guys out of the portal, hey, this guy's not free because he's going to add maybe a veteran piece that we need. But it is moneyballish, not to like be cliche like Billy Bean, but like for us, I'm sure for y'all, there's this like, man, it's a mathematic equation. Luckily for me, I've got a guy who started the collective here when all this new world we live in came about, who played baseball here at Tulane. His name's Kelly Camarda, who's in-house on our staff. And so Kelly's the accountant. Kelly's the spreadsheet guy. I'm not the deal maker. I'm the football coach. And so do I know which guys on our team are making certain amounts of dollars? Yeah, sure. I'm not naive. But I also don't want to be the guy that's sitting down doing the deal and the guy coaching them how to, fit a certain run play or run a certain route.
That's a great point. And I saw that in being around the NBA when there was a period where there was a little bit of an era where the head coaches were also the presidents. And all of a sudden you're in the middle of a contract situation with a player where, he's not getting exactly what he thinks he deserves or what he might be eligible for. And now that head coach has to coach him in practice. So when that player, it used to be he might get angry when he saw the GM around the building. Now he's seeing it with his coach every day. And what I try to do, I'm not, Coach Schmidt at Bonaventure, he generally knows maybe who's making the most and who might be at the bottom, but I'm not sure he could tell you any of the numbers. And we like keeping it that way because to me, our coaches have to be able to coach our guys. And whether it's negotiation or whatever, if someone's going to be upset, I want them to be upset with me and we'll talk through it, or their representative or their family. Because like you just said, because I tell our players all the time, coach doesn't care what you're getting in rev share. He's going to play the guys who are going to help us win, who prepared in practice, who are putting the time in. And, if you looked at our starting lineup here early in the season, you'd see it is not necessarily the guys who are all making the most. And I think for you, it spares you some exposure, right?
Without question. I'm out my show office right now, but that's back here's my real office where I actually like watch tape and do my job. And above the door right here behind me, I've got a sign that says coach the team. All right. My sign back there doesn't say negotiate payroll with the team, right? And so like my job is to coach the team and coach the player. And I want to coach the whole player, not just the football side. I want to coach the man. But um, if I get in the weeds on the dollars and cents of it, then there becomes a transactional component that I don't really want to do as a coach. I'm a transformational leader as a coach. Like I try to figure out how can I serve and develop the player and what can I do to equip them to become their best. And as soon as you become the deal maker, now they think it's like, all right, he's trying to create a bargain or like not give me what I deserve, whatever. And so I'm all about equipping them to get them. I tell them I want them to make the most money they can. Um, and then two, to your point, like your coach there that you work with, for me last year, if I was going to make a decision on our starting quarterback in the 24 season based upon who was getting paid, Darian Mensah would have been at best third string. All right. Like when I got here, he was getting nothing. And for a while, when I first got here, he still was getting nothing. And we went to training camp and he was third string. And we had two guys that were getting paid a little bit, not some crazy number because we don't have crazy numbers, but they were getting paid more than he was. And if I had viewed it as each guy had a dollar amount over their head when they were practicing, I wouldn't have started Darian. But when I watch practice, I go, who's practicing the best? Who's leading the best? Who's performing the best? Who's preparing the best? And that's how I make those decisions because I'm not seeing the financial component.
Just like a coach looks for every edge on game day, Novig gives fans the edge when they make their sports predictions. With no house and no hidden fees, Novig delivers the best odds every time. It's the smarter way to back your instincts. Learn more about Novig, America's #1 sports prediction market at novig.us/Woj and use code the program for a match up to $100 on your first purchase. I want to leave you with this, Coach. We ask a question at the end of each show now about the future. What do you imagine the future of non-Power 4 college football is going to look like?
Yeah, it's a good question. So much of what I think goes on with conference realignment starts with TV deals. And so how does that get affected? Our commissioner has brought up, I think, a really interesting idea. Tim Pernetti's our conference commissioner. I think the world of him. He's really good. And Tim's got an idea that's like, hey, instead of the SEC doing their own TV deal and the Big Ten doing their own TV deal, if we all came together as FBS Division I football and sold our TV rights, he's like the number would be way more for everybody. And if you got paid off of your viewership almost, everybody would make probably 4 times the money we're making now. Now, is that reality? I don't know, because you'd be asking a lot of people to get out of their own little bubble and maybe the ego of their league, especially the bigger leagues. But to me, I think the direction of it, while it's so unknown and so uncertain, I think the importance of embracing uncertainty and being adaptable and like not being fixed upon some traditional way of doing things is the ultimate important factor you have to sustain any sort of success, because the worst thing you can do is like, hey, why are we doing it this way? Well, it's because what we did last year. Well, that may not work this year, and it may not work the next year. And so I'd almost be afraid to say, hey, I think this is what's next, because as soon as I think I know what's next, it's like the other end of the spectrum. But I think the beautiful thing too for me as a head coach, I've been a head coach for a whopping 4 years. And so all of these things that we're talking about at play, transfer portal, NIL, rev share, all this stuff, it's all coexisted my entire time as head coach. So I'm not in a space where I'm like, man, it used to be like this. Like,
right.
We've ruined the game. Like, I'm like, it's all I know. So chaos is what I know. So chaos is what I embrace.
Yeah, I think the only thing we probably all could be confident on that money is going to drive what the future of it is. It's probably not going to be almost anything else. But Coach, thank you for taking so much time. Good luck to Tulane the rest of the way this season, and we'll be watching.
Appreciate you, Woj.
Thanks to Coach Jon Sumrall of Tulane for visiting with us this week on the program with Woj. We'll see you next Wednesday.